Hey y'all, welcome back to the Southern Wife Life. This is part two of kind of my testimony series. So if you have not seen part one, make sure that you go back and check out part one. It talks about my childhood and kind of how my relationship got started with Christ, and then moves into this video, which is going to talk like late teenage years on. So if you need the bases, then head on back and check out part one of the testimony series. So just to preface this part two video, part two is going to be where we get into the nitty gritty, the stuff that started going wrong, the stuff that really challenged my faith and gave me what I feel like is a testimony. So it's not going to be all pretty. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. It's not going to be all happy. So I kind of just want to give you a heads up before we dive into it, because a lot of stuff happened, and I'm going to try to cover it all, and we'll just see how it goes. I haven't really talked about it a whole lot, but like I said, I do feel like it can help someone else that may go through a similar situation, or just be a blessing to somebody, and that's what we're here for. We're here to show what God's done for us in our lives and spread His love to others, and so that's what I am going to do. So I left off talking about the end of my teenage years, and that's when we kind of switched churches, and I went to a different church where there were more people my age that went there. I got involved in different things in the church there as well, and just kind of kept learning and growing. And that's when I had left and went to college, and like life was just super busy. And so I guess the first major thing that had ever happened in my life was my papa had gotten sick. He had lung cancer, and I don't exactly remember how many years he dealt with it, but I know I was a freshman in college, and I had moved onto campus in Bristol at the time, and I can just remember, like, he wasn't doing well, and I felt guilty and bad that I wasn't home anymore, that I had moved off. And not that Bristol's far, but it's just like it's not the same as being right there. And like anybody that knows me knows I am a Papa's girl through and through. Like, me and him were like this. We were pretty much identical. I'm a little Fred Austin made over. And so to have him going through stuff and me not be there was really difficult for me. Sorry, the wind is kind of getting up. But I was also, at that time, I was there on a basketball scholarship. So it wasn't like I could just come home and, drive back and forth for class or whatever. Like, I was required to be there. I had to be up 4:30 in the morning, and I had a whole schedule all day throughout the day. And so it was just really, really hard. I can remember it being super tough. And I remember also around the same time, one of my friends from high school had actually passed away unexpectedly. And that was, I guess, one of the first deaths that was close to me that I had to deal with. And again, it was just kind of like being away didn't make that any easier. So my friend passed away, and, we dealt with that. And then my papa was in the hospital, but he was in Abingdon, and so I was driving over to the hospital whenever I would get done with my daily schedule, and then I would come back, spend the night, do the same thing every day. And so I am thankful that I got to do that. And then I was actually at the hospital when he passed away, and I think that was just one of the things that like I said, I had never dealt with anything deep like that. And so when he passed away, I'm the type of person, like, I'm strong for everybody else. That's just my nature. Like, that's how I have to be. And so, like, my emotions don't come out. I kind of guess I just let them, like, build up, and I hold them in to protect everybody else. And then eventually they do come out eventually, but it's just like, I'm just not the super emotional type. I try to just keep everything in. And then when I'm by myself, or, not near people that I'm trying to protect, then I kind of let it go. So that was the process, and that was a lot of leaning on God, because I didn't want to be a burden to my mom. I didn't want to be a burden to my mama. I didn't want to, talk to them about it because I didn't want to make them sad. And so I found myself just really leaning on God and talking to Him and praying every night. And, I was able to get through that. And I felt like be there to support, my mama and my mom through a really difficult time. And without God, there's absolutely no way that I could have been strong enough for that because, like I said, my papa was my best friend. And there was just I wasn't ready for him to go. You're never ready, but um, I just never thought that when he passed that would be my reaction. And there's only one explanation, and that's that God gave me the strength to go through that the way I did. So I guess that was kind of the first um, bigger thing in my life that I had dealt with that I really felt like had it not been for God, like I wouldn't have made it through the way I did. Um, so fast forward a few years, and I met Cody, which is now my husband. I had met him before, but we were younger, and then come back around. Here we are, and so I meet Cody, and we're talking and dating and whatever, and he would go to church with me, and I remember we talked about it one day. I don't remember exactly, and I didn't want to just straight out be like, are you saved or are you not saved? But I just had this like tugging on my heart that was like, you just need to keep praying for him and loving on him. And so I remember he was working in a garage like right next to my house, and he wasn't like a huge fan. Like obviously that's not what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. And so I remember just praying, and I told him, I'm like, we just need to pray, that you find a job that you enjoy, a job that provides for potentially us to be a family one day, because at that time we weren't engaged or anything. And I was like, we just need to pray that God will send you the job that, you're supposed to have. And so I remember it was a Sunday, it was in 2014. We had went to church, and I remember, I can tell you exactly who was preaching. Um, and me and Cody were sitting there together, and I don't know why, like I said, I never drifted away from my faith, but I did feel like I never lost my faith, but I did feel like I got very distant from God. And I think this happens to everybody at some point in time in your life. Like, you get so busy and overwhelmed, and I was trying to, graduate college and do all these things, and like, I still had my relationship with God, but I was not as close as I had been. And so I can remember the pastor was preaching, and he said, if anybody wants to rededicate their life or get saved or whatever, and you don't have to go to the altar, you don't have to even be at church. You can be in your, as one of my preachers says, you can be in your kitchen, you can be at home, you can be wherever, you could be here at this beautiful place. You don't have to be at church, and even if you are at church, you don't have to go to the altar. You can sit there in your seat, you can pray your prayer, and you're just as saved as the next person. Um, and so I remember that day, like, it was just weighing on me so much, and I was like, I miss being as close to God as I was before. I miss that relationship. I know you've never left me, and I know you're still there, but I just want to be closer to you. And I can remember like just praying that day, and I still prayed for Cody. And me and Cody never really talked about it. And we left church, went back to my mom and dad's house. I was still living at home at the time, and I could tell like he was just being like a little different. And like I said, I tried not to poke or pry too much. And so we're sitting there talking, and I just felt led to be like, hey, so I ended up rededicating my life today. When Marvin was preaching, I just really felt led to do it. And I'm like, I feel 100 times better, and I'm really excited to go forward from here. And I remember he looked at me, and he was like, and he said it so low. If y'all know Cody, he's very quiet, and he doesn't say a whole lot, but he just like quietly and pretty calmly was like, well, I got saved today. And I could see like he was emotional, and that's not like him. And I was like, do what? And he was like, when Marvin was preaching and he said, you know, if anybody wants to get saved, he was like, I prayed that prayer and he said, I got saved today. Well, me and him both just started like bawling, like absolutely crying. It was probably one of the most emotional days. And I was just so thankful because that had been my prayer for a long time. And not only that, but then, you know, here I've rededicated my life on the same day. We haven't talked to each other at all. We never talked about it. We didn't plan it. Like, it was just a God thing. And I can remember going through and him telling my parents, and like we were all just super excited. And so the next day, that Monday, he went to work at the garage and he gets a phone call at lunch the very next day. Like, can't make this stuff up, guys. He gets a phone call the very next day with a job offer for the job that he is still at to this day, which has been, what, 6 years now? And I mean, I cried then. Like, he gets this job offer, he gets to start that night. And I just remember, like, talking to him, I'm like, you realize, like, this is all God. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, we've been praying all these prayers, and now, you know, here we've rededicated and got saved, and the very next day, you got a job offer. And I mean, it was a fantastic job. It was full time. It had benefits, it had insurance, it had everything that you could need, which his job at the garage didn't have. Um, and I can just remember thinking, like, wow, like, thank you, God, because without you, that would have never happened. So we he got on night shift though, and it was kind of funny because, like I said, we weren't married at the time, and so here I was. I had just been working as a PTA for a year, I guess, and so our schedules were completely opposite. So we didn't see each other a whole lot, and I can remember I didn't know, like, we hadn't. I mean, we had talked. Like, I had told him I wanted to get married, but I knew too that he was waiting to have a job, have stability, and all that, and so that Christmas, we actually got engaged, and then we got married the following April. And I mean, just to see how God works and puts things together and puts it together in His time is just, it's amazing. And it never ceases to amaze me. And I just love to see things come together like that. So that's kind of mine and Cody's story. We got baptized together we after he got saved and I rededicated. I thought that would be a great way for us to start our marriage. Even though I had been baptized before, I really wanted that to be something me and him did together. And it was super special. His papa helped baptize us, and it was just a very special moment for us, and something I'm super thankful for. So that's kind of how we got our marriage started and moved forward from there. So that's caught you up on all that part. um, and I'm trying to decide. I don't know if I want to end this video here, um, and then make another video. Because, like I said, I just don't want these to be too long. I don't want you guys to have to sit down for 30 minutes. But there's been a lot from that time forward that has happened, and I think it would be better just to kind of break them up into shorter videos. So I think I might end this one here. Another thing, I guess, if I am going to do this as more of like how me and Cody come together and all that, one thing I would like to add, and I've done a video on it before, I can tag it up here in the top so you guys can check it out. But growing up, I made a vow to myself and to God that I was not going to have sex before I was married. Is that an easy thing to do? Absolutely not. Is it possible? 100%. Because we are human, temptation is there. It's a thing. Just because you make this pact between you and God that you are not going to do it does not mean that the devil is not going to use every inch of his power to try to tempt you. But I promise you that it can be done, and I promise you that there are guys out there that will respect you, that will appreciate you, and that will not ridicule you or try to make you feel any less than. Um, and if any guys are watching this, like, that's the type of woman you should want. you should want someone who values you as her potential husband, who wants to save herself for you and you only, who has that relationship with God and knows that her body is a temple and that it is, you know, precious to her and precious in the sight of God. And it is intended, yes, for a man and a woman to come together, but at the right time. And so I just wanted to reiterate at the end, like, since we are going to kind of make this into a relationship slash marriage journey, girls, it is 1000% doable. It is not uncommon. Like, I feel like today, in today's world, people are like, oh, you don't do that anymore. That's old fashioned. Absolutely not. The Bible is the Bible from 2,000 years ago to today. It is no different. You don't just rewrite it because times passed and moved on. Like, it is still the same. And so I just want to encourage you that there are guys out there who will love you, who will respect you, and who will take pride in you for wanting to wait and to save yourself for marriage. So just wanted to add that little tidbit on the end here. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoyed this part of my testimony. I guess we will be back for a part 3 soon. And if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to share it. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss out, and I will see you guys in the next one.